All right, ladies and gentlemen, a few housekeeping rules. Would like us to all put our phones on silence and would like you to invite people to join this via all the channels and just keep tweeting, putting hashtag Ecobank Day, hashtag Mental Health Day. Just keep telling people to join and let them know what's happening. Just make noise about this day, about now, and just let them know what's going on. And just to, as a reminder, please let's put our phones on silence. And in a bit, we would be calling on the Executive Director, Commercial Banking, to the podium. So please just relax and let's have a great time together as a family. Good morning, distinguished colleagues. Good morning, everyone. You're welcome to Ecobank Day Mental Health Day. We all gathered to talk about mental health in the last couple of days. We've been running through a series. We've seen videos, clips from very important personalities, the MD, the Executive Director, the Head of Consumer, who've been telling us all about mental health. A lot of persons up until now never knew the importance of mental health. And it's really not written on anyone's face like we've come to know, but it's about you getting to know that person and giving support. I recall one of the videos I did watch of Korede. She said, when they asked her any last words, she just said, would be there for you. Same as the head of brands. So we're gathered here to give a shoulder to someone who needs that support. Without wasting much of our time, we'd like to welcome the Executive Director, Commercial Bank, Carol Oyedeji. Please let's put our hands together for her.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. This room is quite dull, actually. You know, after having gone through that walk, and the music doesn't help. I thought when I come into this place, I'll hear a lot of jam and all that. Anyway, good morning and welcome to those who participated and those who did not participate in one way or another. And I know that we spent a few minutes downstairs trying to work out, but I'm going to do something. I still want to infuse a bit more energy into this room. So I'm going to call Kunle. You know, he did a war song for us when we started in the morning, right? To just spend like 1 minute or two. Can we all just get up, please? Kunle.
Thank you. Let the very old people sit down. Those who are old, please sit down. Moral! This is why I know Yoruba people, they say I. It's not I. Okay, now, moral! 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 Uh-huh. Ebiri kokodiko! Ebiri kokodiko! Ebiri kokodiko! Obìnrin kókódíkó ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ tó bá ti pọ́n ẹ rọra fẹ̀sọ̀ ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ tó bá ti pọ́n. NYSC is like 30 years ago for some people. But millennials like us, just 26 years ago. Mora! Mora! Let's go. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kunle. And welcome once again. So let me start by really thanking everyone who's come out to identify with this cause today. As we all know, Ecobank Day is a day that has been set aside to raise awareness around non-communicable disease. And this year's theme is around mental health, which I think we all have on our t-shirts. Now, I'm not an expert on mental health, but I think that I have a certain degree of awareness around it. And it's important that we try and, grow that level of awareness. And because of that, we have distinguished speakers here who will take us through, what mental awareness is, but more importantly, how important it is to just be, sensitive to mental awareness and the existence of the disease. It's not a disease that one can say you take a vaccine against, like COVID, but you have to be highly aware, and our attitude and approach to mental awareness is really critical to how we deal with it. Now, I was at a play over the weekend, and there was a lady who was suffering from postnatal depression, and her mother said it was a spiritual attack, which is very typical in a society. So you see something that really needs a lot of, someone that needs a lot of assistance and, sensitivity in managing such an issue. And all we know is that it's a spiritual attack, or it's somebody from the village that is attacking the person. Let's be mindful that this really exists, even in our workspace. Even among some of us here, we may be going through it and we may not realize. The fact that we've gone through a lockdown in the past 1 year, right? And we're still having issues dealing with some of the challenges that some of us faced last year means that, for all you know, there might be a little element of it in many of us, and we just don't know. So we need to understand ourselves very well. We need to know when we are very stressed. We need to know when to pace ourselves. We need to find joy in other aspects of our lives. I was in the town hall meeting in Port Harcourt, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I was explaining to them, work is very important, very, very important. But if it's all your life, you're in serious trouble. You're in serious trouble. Why? The minute anything happens to that job, you're dead. You must find joy in something else, in family, in a church or mosque society, in other community activities, in a hobby. When you leave work, try and shut down. And I know that in this space or in this day and time, 24/7, you're constantly on your laptop. So you find it very difficult to remove yourself from work, but you have to learn to do so. When you leave work, shut down totally and do something else. If it's that you spend time with your kids, you spend time with your spouse, siblings, parents, do so. Spend time in church. But if you do not do that, you will find that you don't find joy. You have to have a balance in life, real balance. And that's how you probably start ensuring that inner well-being, you start building it up. And it's absolutely important. Like I said, I'm not an expert on, mental health. The experts have come to talk about it. But please, let's try and ensure that we make the most of the time that we have here. Listen, understand ourselves, know when to identify it in colleagues and family, and be there to assist as much as possible. But overall, please sit down, relax, and let's have fun. Thank you.
Please, let's put our hands together once more for Carol. We'd like to please remind everyone to please use their face mask. I'm the only one who would not use one for now, and that's why I'm the MC. So we'd like to have a short video welcome speech from the Managing Director, Patrick Akinranto. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Good afternoon. I would like us to talk about the Ecobank Day. What's special about Ecobank Day? It's because every year we take out time to look at areas where we can support our community much better. In the last 3 years, we've talked about supporting in handling cancer, how to eradicate malaria, and we've also looked at how to be fit in terms of our health. So this year, we're focused on mental health. We all know that Nigeria is a country with about 200 million people. There's a lot of hustle bustle. Day-to-day activities often unleash a lot of stress on quite a lot of our colleagues across the country. Bring that into the realm of banking. Banking itself as a profession does have the capacity to put a lot of people under stress. Both the bank workers, fellow Ecobankers, and indeed our customers. When a customer wants to use the ATM, it can be stressful. Will my transaction go through? When a customer wants to ask for a loan, it can be stressful. Will I get the approval? When a customer wishes to do a transaction, particularly if it has a lot of significance to the future of the customer, it can be very stressful. This year, we want to focus on how we support one another to improve on our mental health. Mental health in itself is not something that should be hush-hush. It's something we should be open to talk about. Something that we should be able to share our concerns so that each of us can be sensitive to how we support one another on the path to better mental health and to manage the stress available in our environment. At Ecobank, I encourage all my colleagues to speak out to their colleagues, whether verbally, through written communication, WhatsApp, text, SMS message, even if it's an anonymous call. We want to know if there's anything in your environment that impacts you negatively on your journey to better mental health. All of us are exposed to the pressures that exist. It may be just the color of something. It could be the tone through which certain aspects of our work is communicated. It could be the physical challenge that we have to encounter daily. The starting point is to speak to someone. And each of us must remember that supporting our colleague is supporting ourselves, because we all communicate. What we offer is what we are likely to get back. And this goes for our encounter or interactions with our customers. Our customers is why we have the bank. We have a responsibility to be sensitive to their needs. If they have any challenge or we put them under unusual pressure, we need to be sensitive to help our customers through this journey of improved mental health. This year, Ecobank is encouraging everyone to be sensitive and supportive, caring in arriving at better mental health for all Ecobankers and for all our customers and stakeholders that we interact with. This includes our immediate community, and our community are not just those that we see. Today with social media, we reach out to millions of people. So in our communication to the world at large, we need to exercise more sensitivity to be supportive towards improved mental health. My name is Patrick Akinwuton. I manage Ecobank in Nigeria. And hey, you are not alone. We got your back. Thank you.
If you believe that Ecobank has got your back, let me hear you say, whoop, whoop. We know those that didn't say whoop, whoop. Your targets would be increased. All right. We have in our midst very able speakers, keynote speakers, and we have Oluwakemi Akintoyeshi. She is a clinical psychologist who is passionate about self-development training and individual wellness. She believes that the understanding of the holistic man can bring about the desired transformation in the family, workplace, society, and world at large. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Kemi Akintoyeshi.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here. not just to be physically present, but that we are all alive, and so we have something to be grateful for. One of the most important things about mental health and functioning is that we're able to project and look into the future and tell ourselves there's something around me to be grateful for. And so with that positive mindset, it helps us oftentimes to be able to overcome challenges and deal with difficulties. All right, so today, we're talking about what's on your mind. And basically, I wanted to say I should just come and do the question and answer when she started earlier, because she had virtually she said everything. So please, let's appreciate her. Let's put our hands together for her. She said, I'm not a mental health expert, but no, yes, she had also given us everything that we need to know about mental health. Up until last year, so much emphasis wasn't placed on mental health because we felt we are rugged people, resilient. We talk about Nigerians. Oh man, Nigerians go to the filling station, there is no fuel. They carry their keg, they still form party there. They are dancing and jubilating, and you start wondering and asking yourself, is something wrong with us? But that's the way we were built. We have so much tenacity, we have so much energy, we have so much drive that pushes us forward, and then we're able to just do quite a whole lot of things because that's the way we have been built. But over time, it seems as if our resilience seems to be weakening. It seems as if quite a lot of things are happening around us, and that seems to be affecting us, and putting us also in a very difficult fix. And so you now start asking yourself, and how can we deal with all of these things? How can we create a balance that would help us to be able to move on? I know I have 20 minutes. I'm going to try as much as possible to push this and make sure that I pass the right information across to everyone before I leave here. And so when we're talking about mental health, it's just like our physical health. But unfortunately, we take care of our physical health, now we'll take care of our mental health. We place so much emphasis on the physical than on the mental. But then it's the mental that controls quite a whole lot of things about us. If your mental health is dysfunctional, then the physical health won't be able to pull through. I have the opportunity of working with quite a whole lot of people who have different kinds of mental health issues, and it has brought to the fore that when individuals find functioning difficult, then every other part of their life takes a decline. And you would agree with me today that quite a lot of Nigerians are languishing rather than flourishing. And the essence of mental health is about flourishing. All right, so let me now correct another impression. And that impression is that when we're talking about mental health, we are not talking about weary. You know that thing? All right. Because usually when people talk about mental health, the next thing is, what comes to your mind? Arrow, Yaba left. That kind of thing. No, usually what comes to people's mind is, Yaba left, arrow, and every other thing. How many people have been to Yaba left before? You've had the opportunity of just walking into, I'm not saying you are sick, you just raise up your hand, that you have just passed by, you have entered, you had one thing or the other to do there. Yeah, thank you. But how did you find that environment? Somebody just took a deep sigh and said, it's not bad. No. Do you know, as a matter of fact, that Yaba left is more saner, cleaner, better, and more organized than Yaba right? I don't know if you understand that. Yaba left is cleaner, saner, and better in terms of organization and every other thing than Yaba right. Because if you're going through Yaba right, you will now see people start pulling you. Bed sheets, toilet roll, this, and the abokis will be saying, dollar, madam, chain, gold. Excuse me? But then you dare won't walk into Yaba left and see all of that. That even when it seems like it's a chaotic environment in terms of, yes, that's what we expect, it's a well better managed. And what does this tell us? That even when people have mental health issues, it can be managed. It doesn't have to be like it's all over the place. The thing is this, quite a lot of people had made it difficult for a lot of people to access help because of what we project out. The way we project it out makes a lot of people not even want to talk about it. And that's one of the greatest challenges we have when we're talking about mental health. Like I said, I'm very conscious of time. All right, so when we're talking about mental health in itself, what we're talking about, one, we're saying it's a state of emotional, psychological, and social well-being, in which one, this individual is able to realize his or her own ability. Please mark that word. It doesn't mean that you are Superman. Excuse me. It doesn't mean that you are Iron Man. You know all those children cartoon, those make believe that yes, I can take over the world. No. But where does your strength lies? It starts with who are you? Do you understand that you have certain strengths and you also have certain weaknesses? Do you understand your qualities? And that's what it's all about. I tell people oftentimes that when you have weaknesses, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that is the other better part of you that makes you the person that you are. But oftentimes we run away from our weakness and quote because we see it as being all bad. No, you must understand, because that also helps you to be able to work on it. That helps you to be able to deal with it, and then helps you to come to a place where you're better able to function. And then it's also, you can cope with the normal stresses. Please mark that word, normal. In Lagos, sometimes you have abnormal stresses because you are there in traffic for how many hours, only God knows. And then you now get to the front, you now start wondering, excuse me, what caused that traffic? But you've been there for hours. So sometimes there is abnormal, okay? But in day-to-day routine, everyday life challenge, we are able to function. One of the things, or one of the difficulties that people who have mental health challenges have is that they are not even able to cope with normal life stresses. Everything looks bleak. Everything looks distorted. They're not able to get up in the morning like a normal person will get up and have the energy and the motivation to be able to face life. And then we're saying again, is that a whole lot of people, when we're talking about mental health, you can work productively and you're able to contribute your own culture to the community. And that's why we are all here, because we are all contributing our own quota to the community. Yes, we are working for Ecobank, but one way or the other, we are serving the world, as a matter of fact. And that's what functioning is all about. And so when we're talking about mental health, for quite a lot of people who have mental health issues, they are not able to function. The various domains of life is affected. And when you look at this definition, we started by saying, realize his or an own ability. That has to do with personal goals. You understand? With cope with normal stresses. Yes, functioning outside. And then we now talk about being able to be productive and being able to communicate. I once had an individual who said to me, he said, Kemi, I don't wake up until 8 a.m. I said, no. Why would you tell me you don't wake up until 8 a.m.? He said, that's the time I wake up. I said, but then you get to the office around 7. He said, at that point in time, I'm just sleepwalking. I do everything on remote basis. And you have people like that functioning in certain areas. And that's why I key in with what she said earlier. Sometimes it's not until an individual breaks down before we start talking about mental health challenges. Sometimes there are areas of our lives that we need to be aware of and take care of. And that helps us to be able to function. All right, so before I move on to, oh boy, is this working? Okay. All right, I want you to just look at this green key that talks about think, feel, and act. All right, that's the core essence of mental health. Your thought determines how you feel, and that leads to how you behave. All right, so if our thought is specifically negative, then it's going to affect our feelings. You're going to feel unhappy, you're going to feel moody, you're going to feel sad, and then automatically it leads to a behavioral problem where you now tend to withdraw. All right, so if I see myself as the most ugliest girl in this room, excuse me, what do you think? How do you think I'm going to feel? I'm going to feel sad. I feel inferior, right? I feel rejected. What other feeling will come in? Unhappy. And then what do you think the behavioral consequences are going to be? I withdraw. So even if they ask me to come and do something, what do? I shy away. I don't want to come there because I have told myself that I am not up to everybody in this room. And that's where mental health issues start from. It starts from the top. So if you're going to guide anything, if you're going to take anything away from this today, please understand that your thought is the most powerful tool that you have. However way you direct your thought determines how you're going to function in life. And nobody can make you feel. So when you hear people say nobody can make you feel bad, it's not because they don't have that power. It's because you have the controlling force, which is a thought. And so when your thought is positive, nobody can change it because you own that thought and you can direct it to wherever you want it to go. All right, so in moving on, I want us to look at this slide. And it's saying 1 in 4 will experience mental health issues in a year. And do you know that this statistics was before the coronavirus? I don't know if it has changed, but I know the World Health Organization is working tirelessly to see if it's still the same thing. Because in recent time, the number of people who had reached out to assess mental health care had gone higher. And as a matter of fact, way, way higher than even the mental health profession themselves can handle. And that's why we're also talking about this today, because it's not just our responsibility again. Everybody must be aware. Everybody must be involved. And so when you have 1 in 9 living in conditions or settings that have moderate to severe mental health issues, and that creates a huge lot of problem. And then when we're talking about all of these mental health issues too, you begin to ask me, what are they? Sorry? You begin to ask me, what are these mental health issues? All right, so it starts from what we call the mood disorders. The mood disorders has to do with depression, this persistent feeling of sadness, most times that's associated with no known cause. Okay, so for quite a lot of people, it's not the fact that they lost their phone or they lost a substantial amount of money, but it's because this individual just does not have the energy and the drive to wake up in the morning like they would do. They don't have a reason why they feel so sad and moody and withdrawn. And so depression comes with quite a lot of symptoms, irritability, lack of concentration, lack of motivation, loss of interest in pleasurable activities. So this person is an Arsenal fan or a Manchester United fan. Can I have a witness in the house? Okay, all right. They're here. Who are they? Never walk alone. Is that Man U? Liverpool. All right. Are they there too? Oh, they are not here. All right, so we are working together. All right. But you know, for people who have depression, they used to be this fan. They could go all out to engage themselves in all of these things. But all of a sudden, you just hear Manchester is playing, Liverpool is there. And they're like, who cares? They're not even motivated. The drive is not there. You just begin to see a decline in functioning. Sleep is reduced, food is reduced, and quite a whole lot of other things like that. Then on the other continuum of this mood disorder is what we now have the mania. That's where you have the hyper energy. They are just all over the place. Yes, we have some people who we call sanguines. Sanguines are very friendly. They could walk this room all over and every other thing. But that's the good part. Sanguines are good. But this mania goes higher than the sanguine. And so for them, this is hyperactivity. They have flight of ideas. So they start telling you that the Ecobank day, what we're going to do is that we're going to just go on the skyscraper and every other thing. And then we jump into the ocean and then you're like, does it tally? Where are they coming from? You know, the ideas just keep coming. And sometimes it looks like, oh, wow. Lovely idea. But by the time you now start telling you that we now tie rope around ourselves, you now know that there is a problem. Because, it's still just move on like that. But like I said, why depression is low energy, mania is very high energy. And that's also one of the problems with manic patients because the high energy could also lead to exhaustion for them if it's not properly handled, and that could also be very fatal. And then on the other continuum of that is where we have what we call the bipolar disorder, and that's like a swing between the depression and the mania. So sometimes some of them are there 2 months, they're depressed, and then you now see them high energy, just walk into the office and like, oh, hi, caller, hi, Biola, and they're like, wow, what a change, what happened, did you win the lottery? No, but then it's just a swing. All right, so all of these things that we're talking about needs effective intervention. So there's not just the normal day or everyday mood disorder that you will talk about. Sometimes I may not have money in my purse. I'm like, oh God, I need to be able to do this. I feel low because yes, the money is not there. That's normal. But when it's now persistent for about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, then there is a problem. And the other one is anxiety. Depression last year came in with a lot of, oh boy, my time is up. All right, the coronavirus last year came up with a lot of anxiety. I don't know how many people were able to go out. Oh man, some of us had to go out to see clients, and then we now do mask. And even with the nose mask, it was like virus was just trying to, imagination, just like virus is trying to just pitch in into the nose. But then we were able to scale through. But then it has also left a lot of people in very anxious state. Anything, they go down. And then we also have substance use. In the bid to cope with some of the mental health challenges, you find out that a lot of people use substances and other things like that. Stress disorder, that's one major thing that is also killing us in this part of the world. Yes, there are good stress, there are bad stress, but you find out that a whole lot of us still mitigate around the very bad stress. And so when we're talking about depression, I've explained that, self-harm and suicide, and quite a whole lot of other things. And then when we now talk about what are the core symptoms, I'm just going to talk about all the symptoms that are common to all. The mood is also affected for a whole lot of symptoms. The mood disorder, either depression or anxiety, is that it's high or low, or it's just label, just this person is just flat, not showing any emotion. And then for quite a whole lot of people, you also find out that they are not, the motivation and the drive to be able to push on and move forward is not there. Then what are the risk factors? We'll talk about it and we'll say to ourselves, the risk factors are huge. Yes, previous trauma, being subjected to continuous stress on a daily basis, and quite a whole lot of things. You're going to get a slide, so let me just talk freely so that I'll be able to live up to the time that had been allocated. I think I'm out of that now. Okay, so we talk about the warning signs. Please understand that when you know you start fluctuating, your mood is not stable, you can't control, you can't explain, you're better able to regulate your emotions before, but all of a sudden you find out that you can't do that again, then know that there is a problem. Understand when there is confused thinking, worry, anxiety, or guilt, that might be a huge problem. So what are the protective factors? Let me emphasize that and then I'll go and take my seat. All right, so one of the most important things, like I said earlier, is please take charge of your thought. Your thought is powerful. It doesn't matter whether it's a black day or a beautiful day or a cool day. What is important is how you perceive the day. Do I have a weakness in the house? What is important is how you perceive the day. And the most important power that we have is the ability to be able to regulate our emotions. All right? So once your interpretation of event activity is wrong, everything will be wrong. All right? So if I am walking, I don't know how many Yoruba people we have here. When I use my left leg to hit this step, what is going to happen to me today is a bad day. Okay? That's the Yoruba belief. But my interpretation is, excuse me, I wasn't looking at where I was going, and that was why my leg hit that thing. But the moment I have told myself that, even when I fall down again, it won't matter, I won't be able to link it up with the previous thing. But because, our belief system, our culture, and quite a whole lot of other things are things that affect us. And those are some of the things that we must watch out for. Otherwise, we will not be able to move on. And so we must be able to build resilience. I tell people, when you bounce a ball, what happens to the ball? The harder you bounce the ball, the higher it goes. When life bounces you, please understand that it's taking you to the highest height. So it doesn't matter whether they keep bouncing. Sometimes people will say, why is it that it's only me that our guy is always saying this too? Why is it? Excuse me. It is bringing out the very best in you. That is the power of perception. So if you see it that way, it doesn't get you down at any point in time. It doesn't make you feel less of who you are. And then it also makes functioning very, very important. Build connections with people. And this is part of what we're doing here today. I know some people will not do exercise again until next year, Ecobank Day. Am I lying? I say, get up in the morning, say, I've been doing on Monday to Tuesday. I will now, I'm tired. But please, all of this helps us. Exercises produces what we call endorphin hormones. It's a feel-good hormone. It makes somebody say, yes, I understand that. Even if you don't achieve that, please find ways of creating the balance on the days that you are at home. And then you should be able to create that balance. Connect, exercise, therapy, and express yourself. Thank you for having me.
And to question and answer, question session. All right. Do we have questions? Just signify by raising your hand, and she would do justice. All right.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now, my excellent presentation, actually. My name is David Isiawe. While you were presenting, especially on the mood swing side of things. I recalled an experience I had as a young banker almost 28 years ago. I bought my first car, and I bought it from a relative, all right? I didn't know that I was buying a completely dead and useless vehicle. So it was a shock. It was a shock. At the time, where's Kenneth Okere? Ken, are you there?
It's behind you.
Okay, it was Ken alone that knew the name they used to call me then. I used to be called the bridegroom. When I come into a room, behold, the bridegroom cometh. All of a sudden, after buying that car, I couldn't sleep. Because the first day I took it to a mechanic, and I made sure, again, there are some things to do. You buy a car, instead of going to look for a new mechanic, oh, you are the mechanic that has been fixing this car for the past 10 years, okay? So service the car for me before I start using it. The man said, "Oga, you have to drop the engine." So you said, anyway, to cut a long story short, because I had asked him, is this car good, before I bought it? He said, yes. Then service it for me. The man said, "Oga, you need to drop the engine." And at that time, to drop engine of car means the engine was useless. So you have to spend money. Wow. And then he dropped the engine. Within a month, the car was on Third Mainland Bridge, the car would stop. So I had to take it back again. He said, "Oga, you have to drop the..." So it's like I was working for the guy. I couldn't sleep. And then when I come to the department in the morning, instead of the bridegroom that used to come, "Hey, what's the problem? What's the problem?" We fix everything, anything. I would just sit down at my desk, and I won't say a word to anyone. I will just do my work. So, what do we call that? Mental health?
All right, thank you so much. Please let's celebrate him. Let's celebrate him. That was a wonderful experience. But then, as much as that was stressful, that was in bipolar. Bipolar, you can't control it. Okay, it's a mood thing. It's like a switch, but you are not in control of the switch. Okay, so it flips to the depressive side, flips down. And that also comes with it takes a whole lot out of you. But what you were going through then was pure stress. The stress was accumulating. And when stress comes too, it also comes with mood changes. It could be frustrating. It comes with irritability and quite a whole lot of other emotional reactions like that. So yes, that was stressful for you. And we talked about normal stress. That was an abnormal stress too. So that is it. So, but that was just a very stressful situation that was taking a toll on you psychologically. But that wasn't a bipolar. Bipolar has to be treated with medication. You can't even just go out of it just like that on your own. All right, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Yemisola Jide. Thank you for the presentation. So mine is on how do you counsel people? So someone comes to you and is expressing their concerns or their worry. Maybe somebody has been raped, for instance, and comes to you. So what are the kind of words you say to those people? Because you can almost tell that, they're having like a meltdown. So how do you, because in this part of our climb, right, we don't have counselors. Like you can tell somebody to go see a counselor, or maybe I don't know where to direct them to. But in, like that first aid, what are those kind of things you say to such people that...
All right, thank you. Somebody just said it as well. That's our usual language. After people have poured out their problem, we just tell them, "It is well." And then, they go back more burdened than every other thing. Because when you just put a final stop of "it is well," it means that it's only God that can help you. There's no longer a solution for you again. All right, but then the truth is this. One, most times what they need is somebody that can listen. Just listen to them. Don't interject. Let them share their story their own way. They own the story, not you. Sometimes there are truths that they keep hidden. they themselves don't want to confront it at that point in time. There's something, when event happens, there's what we call the fight or flight reaction. But now what has also been added to it is what we call the freeze reaction. And you know, sometimes when things happen, we say, why didn't you run? Why didn't, at that point in time, their brain is like paused. And so they can't run. You know, sometimes people will now ask you, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? No, let them share or tell the story their own way. Encourage them to speak about it, encourage them to pour out their own truth the way they want to be heard. And then please direct them appropriately. Now there are procedures to interventions that could be appreciated by people who had been sexually violated. One is report immediately at the police station. Two, get them to the hospital so the samples can be taken and then they can also be treated, and then refer them appropriately. There are lots of centers now. We have the Mirabel Center, which is owned by the Lagos State, which is doing very, very well. People there. There are lots of other NGOs and other things like that. The House of Refuge, the Genesis House too, has one. We have the Pathfinder Justice Initiative, which are some of the places that deals basically with sexual assault and quite a whole lot of other things. Then the organization I represent, the Grey Insight too, we're also available. We have counselors, licensed counselors that can talk to people and help them put through all of those things. So yes, at this point in time, believe them, believe their truth. Don't judge them. Just pay attention to whatever it is they say. Encourage them to speak out their own truth. Don't let them lock it up, because most times that's what we do. You just keep it hidden. Don't talk about it. The more people lock up problems, then it's waiting for them in the future. And that's some of the things that we can do for them. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, Nike, before you, we have Port Harcourt. There's a question from Port Harcourt.
Morning. Okay. Hello, good morning. Okay, I have a question. You mentioned from the scenario
good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I can go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm just wondering, for us in Nigeria and for you doctors, how do we actually get people to be enlightened on mental health issues? I mean, you see some, I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but you see some nasty behavior and you're like, are you sure this person doesn't have bipolar? But because it's a means to even mention it, everybody just say, he or she's just a nasty person. I mean, I had an experience recently and I was like, this person is a relative, and I'm like, okay, young lady, I want to arrange for you to see a psychologist, is what I even used. I don't want to use psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And she blew up and said, no, nothing like that. And the person moved out of my house and that was it. Because, I mean, you can't be that nasty all the time. And it's a taboo here. And it will mess up every other area of life. Career, everything, relationships, everything is messed up. But it's a taboo to see a psychiatrist there. Nobody wants to talk about it.
All right, that's what I started with earlier when I said quite a lot of people don't even want to hear the word mental. I recall meeting someone and, she said anytime she passes in front of the psychiatric hospital, Yaba, that she turns her face to the other side. It's like, mere looking at it would even affect her. And it just goes to show part of our own cultural belief here. We'll believe that, yes, mental health or mental issues are not things that we talk about. But I tell people stress is a mental health disorder. It's a mental health issue, as a matter of fact. When we talk about learning disorders. But then what are the most important thing we have to learn to start doing is to begin to minimize this stigma issue about a lot of reason why people don't want to talk about it is because of stigma. Because when issues happen and say, it's like you have bipolar. People will tear clothes for you and say, excuse me, what do you mean by bipolar? Because for them, it's something worse, on the worst scale of every other thing. But we need to start normalizing the conversation about mental health. We need to also create more awareness for people. We need to allow a lot of people to understand something. We have various issues. We don't have time. There are things we call personality disorders: borderline personality, narcissistic personality, histrionic personality. You just see somebody all over the place, high drama, dressed up like what's wrong with you? Histrionic, no attention seeking, and every other thing like that. Those are some of the things. And then when you're walking in the same space with them, if you're not careful, you start having issues with them all the time. And it's like, why is everybody having issues with me? Because that's their person. But then we need to start normalizing the conversation about it. We need to talk more about it in the workplace. Yes, regular webinars, that's what we do here in Great Insight, to enlighten more people more. We're going out there to just, blow the trumpet of mental health, because like I said earlier, mental health is also as synonymous as physical health. It's the same thing. And so we can also just make it as normal as possible and create more awareness, and also create a very accepting environment, even for people who have mental health. When the environment becomes more accepting, then people can also own up to their issues, talk about it, seek help, and it makes it normal, and then they're able to move on. Yeah, thank you.
All right, Port Harcourt, are we ready?
Yes, you're ready.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I want to talk about the scenario we had on the car that went bad. Somebody that had a better mood that switched over to the mood swing as a result of the bad car, purchase of the bad car that we had as a scenario. Now we are attributing it to bipolar disorder. I want to know, is it all mood swings? Is it all mood swing that we call bipolar disorder? Now, 1, 2, you said it can be resolved only with use of drugs. Now, you mentioned from the beginning of the training that there are other natural ways that we can cope this bad stress to help our mental wellness. You mentioned exercises, you mentioned use of adequate diet, and thinking right, as in making your thought process to produce the results you want to see in the course of the day. And I want to ask, is it only with use of drugs? Because we were told that for people who are going through this mental illness, as in even if it's bipolar disorder or the stress disorder or mood swing, whatever is causing the depressive situation, that you can talk to somebody, even if it's not a psychologist. So I don't know, I just want you to throw more light on that bipolar disorder coping with only use of drug, because I know other processes can also help, since we already know the cause of the stress. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much for asking that, so that somebody will not go home with the wrong information today. I attributed ease to what? What did I attribute it to earlier? Stress. All right, so what we said was, for that situation, it wasn't bipolar, it was just a stressful situation, and that could also bring a whole lot of emotional reaction like he experienced. So please note that wasn't bipolar. And then people oftentimes experiences mood swing. A whole lot of things can happen. If your boss shouts at you in the office in front of everybody, you will naturally feel low. But when you now get back to your colleagues and they say, it's okay, he shouted at me too yesterday, and maybe your wife now called you and say, hello baby, sorry, I'm preparing your favorite meal, your mood may come up. That's like a fluctuation. So that's like a normal trend that can happen. But when we're talking about bipolar, it's a medical condition. And that was why I was trying to make that bring on that understanding earlier on. That bipolar is different from the normal mood swing that virtually everybody goes or experiences. Bipolar disorder has its own classification in terms of diagnosis and in terms of treatment. So it's different from the normal mood swing that anybody can encounter. And yes, I agree with you that there are lots of things that we can do in terms of getting ourselves fit and ensuring that we enjoy the best of mental health functioning. But when you have a medical diagnosis, please listen carefully. When you have a medical diagnosis, such as what we call the bipolar affective disorder, which would have to be diagnosed by a medical doctor in the hospital, not just on the road or talking like I am talking now, then you have to seek treatment and get help for it. But if it's just normal, everyday mood swing and fluctuations, then what we will now do is skills that would help you to be able to manage your distress very well. So there's something we call distress tolerance, distress management, and that would help you now to be able to manage the distresses that occur in your life effectively, and then you're able to better function. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I have two questions. The first is, most times when stress is talked about, right, it's about dealing with the source of the stress. So if Lagos traffic is your problem, you can get a driver, right? Something like that. But there are times where there is nothing you can do about the source of the stress.
So you have to adapt to it.
Okay, so that's my first question, practical ways to do that. Secondly, speaking to, you mentioned something about substance, how people use it to. So one of those substances I've noticed over time is food, right? Snacking on stuff, just to cope with it. In that, from your experience, what have you seen that people have done to basically break that habit? Because sometimes you don't even know when, it starts. You just want your mouth moving all the time just to deal with that constant pressure over.
All right, so
I'm just trying not to be stigmatized. That's why I didn't.
That's a good one.
We know ourselves.
That's a good one. But then again, it's not everybody that is on the big side that is actually also snacks and all of those things. Some people are genetically endowed. All right. So adaptation is one key thing. And like I said, it starts with our thought process. This table is not moving from here, and I need to pass through this place. It's either I keep pushing and I keep getting frustrated, or I find a lever and climb and jump, or I just take a walk around and then I come down. That's adaptation. You're looking for what would help you cope effectively with that situation. Your boss will not stop shouting. Situation in the office will not change. Customer would always come and shout. Will you now start crying or shouting or getting moody all the time? Sir? You understand? You can't change that. But can I become accustomed to it in such a way that it doesn't affect me emotionally? And that's where emotional control comes in. All right, so I am not going to react each time my boss shouts or customers shout, but I am going to understand that this customer is shouting because they are frustrated with something that is not working, or maybe the manager has shouted on something like that, or this is just my boss. You understand? This is just my boss. So my boss, when he or she wants to communicate something, would always react this way. So why won't I just understand that that's just Madam or Oga talking? And so rather than allow it to affect me, I pick the message and ignore the envelope. And then I'm able to move on. Do you understand that? And that's adaptation. So you sit down and look. You're not going to pass the ball on to somebody else to now begin to look for you. You would have to do the job yourself. And you're able to find that pattern that would work. Sorry, the second question is, okay, snacking. All right. Excuse me, you know that something is becoming addictive and it's not healthy. Then awareness helps you to understand that, excuse me, this is not helping. As a matter of fact, it's adding more to the problem. What can help me solve the problem? Let's look for alternatives. And so the alternative includes exercises. It might include quite a whole lot of other things. Refocusing, rechanneling my energy towards something else. Looking for another interest, focus, and every other thing. But the most important thing is finding a healthy alternative. You would have to tell yourself the truth. Snacking or all of that is not going to help me deal with the problem. And then you said something very important, and that's the fact that oftentimes we get into habits and we are not aware of it. But, it's like consciously we are not aware, but unconsciously we are aware. There is a place of mindfulness that helps us to be aware of virtually everything that
to deal with it. It's there to stay. 2022 will be tougher. Recalibrate. Face it. Even if they shout, just face it. It's a job. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst a very special person. We just heard from a professional, but we have someone who's had to deal with what we're talking about, the fame. You know, there's a way you can be famous and it weighs on you negatively. But this person, when you hear her sing, she's gifted, she's beautiful, and she's intelligent. She's supportive to the cause. Let's put our hands together as we welcome Dija.
Oh la la.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me here. First of all, my name is Dija. I wish I could ask each and every one of your names right now, but I don't have enough time, or I can use it to cheat. And they said I have 20 minutes, so I can use 5 minutes. Sorry. Okay. So when it comes to mental health, one of the reasons why I'm very, very supportive to the cause is because I deal with my own mental health wellness. I like to say wellness because once you start saying illness, everybody's running away. We're very, very we do live in a very judgmental environment. That's not really something that is hidden. We ourselves as well, we don't want to admit it, but we're quite judgmental. Not just even to everybody else, to yourself. And it depends on which one you're listening to that day. And I believe that coming from different backgrounds, different parenting styles, most times you are hearing the voice of your parents sometimes in the back of your head when you're doing something. I've carried these emotions for quite a number of years to the point of where I don't know, I guess there's always affect and effect, but they have been affecting me and some have had a number of effects. I believe in Nigeria you need a little bit of Chris to survive. You really do, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that if we have to use that as the terminology we're using. But we have gone into an extremely sensitive, very, very sensitive world now, and a lot of us don't really know how to talk. Like my mom sometimes tells me, you don't really know how to talk, just be talking anyhow. You know, you don't really know, you want someone to, you know how you say it no matter what, because I do believe that generationally, I'm very happy and very proud of where the conversation on mental health has gotten. But to be honest with you, I don't think in terms of accepting it, is more of like, we know now everything is an excuse. You people save your time, save everything is complain. You know those kind of things. But when you really look back, you find that a lot of our parents have really tried, they've suppressed a lot. A great deal. And honestly, I don't want to say typical, but I think a lot of us are very good at suppressing. That's why there's either the suppressed or the oppressed here. It's either you're in one or the other. There's no in between, and the people in between are considered misfits or crazy, or which are, artists like ourselves, because we are just refusing to fit into the system. And I do believe, I'm not saying that because I'm one. I went through science all my life as a student. I don't know if I went through that because of what was predestined for me, whether I was, but music has always been in my family. Even a lot of I started Brothers, Yellow Man, many different oldies. They say I have an old soul with the way I sing sometimes because of my parents. So when they say, where does it come from? I'd say, well, it comes from somewhere my parents, maybe one person there or someone in your family wanted to be an artist and it didn't happen. The team must enter somewhere. See, artistry, the blood, the inside, it must fall somewhere. So it's almost like I'm a parent now, so I'm very forgiving of my parents. Please, Emma Binu, please, sorry for parents because they are interesting, colorful, but I've been tested in many ways. And it is in my reaction, as the doctor prior to myself has said, is I've had to learn how to manage my reaction to things. I thought I was great, but there are sometimes I have to just lock my door and, God, please control me so I don't so I don't repeat what they say they call generational mistakes. So I don't necessarily believe in mistakes. I just believe that we will keep trying, and genes and they always say DNA will, if we has to pass. It will keep duplicating itself until it succeeds at what it's trying to do, and that's how I see music. So like I said, I was a science student, and then I bit the bug, and I decided that my scoring was a bit too much, and I needed to give myself a try. I'm grateful to the parents I have who were able to give me some form of education that I was able to have some options where I can explore, even if you're chopping 1, 2 here, beats and this thing and stuff like that. But what music did was it helped me quiet my mind in a very chaotic, I consider my mind very chaotic. I'm standing here right now talking to you, but I am fighting a war in my mind currently as I'm standing here in front of you. One is based on, once you've entered the spotlight magnifies a lot of your insecurities. It does push your talent forth, and I'm very grateful to Don Jazzy and everybody along the journey, management and people that saw something within myself to say, oh, she can be put on a platform. But I don't think I was completely mentally ready. And while in my career, I got married, and in the course of my career, I, continued to duplicate myself and what God said we should come and do, and I, along the way. And honestly, my music creation changed. My drive changed for the better, but before that, my mental health wasn't the best. To be pregnant and be in the limelight, and to be as private as I am, I'm not even very good at that. So I asked him, I said, I don't know why I'm here. I'm not very good at talking and speaking publicly, but I think I should try because I have too many things in my mind. When you're working, you're always trying to put your best foot forward. You're always trying to put your best face forward. This is not just even in music. This is in the office. You don't want to look like that person that is always coming to shout and always has problems or always has... And sometimes you do test the waters and try to speak to people, but the truth is, a lot of us are very visual. So if you get one kind of person doesn't seem interested, you're probably not going to try again. But sometimes you have to remember that that person too, at that moment, might be going through their own personal battles. They might not hear you today, but they'll hear you tomorrow. So it always helps kind of, and that's why I repeat myself a lot, because I might say something today and it didn't work, but I might go and repeat it in another place, and it worked. Because maybe the people there were not relating or were not connecting to me. That's how music kind of made me get out of this continuous cycle of overthinking, even though I still do, please, I'm currently doing it right now. But the idea of music for me is it was an escape. And I think most people that do have mental health, wellness, maybe, I don't like to use weaknesses, but certain moments where they don't feel so strong are very special. A lot of you sitting here, it's not just about numbers. I'm sure a lot of you are painters as well. You probably are very good at building things, sketching things. You probably are very good at mentally calculating, but if somebody puts you on the spot and asks you a question, you're frozen. That's why I don't like this. If you give me, I'll write pages and pages and I can get stuff done to you, but you're asking me right there and I'm stuck. It doesn't mean I'm dumb. It doesn't, I always believe in the fact that there's this quote where I like that says, you can't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. I can't remember who said that, but a lot of times even within children, see your sister is doing this, see this one is doing like this, why can't you be like this? And you think you're strong, but it becomes the voice in your head, which are those voices that I'm telling you. Somebody has asked me one day, said, you're always saying you're talking to God, and what does the voice of God sound like? It actually sounds like mine in my head, because I haven't heard the Almighty's,